What's going on, people? I am B-Dobbins FTW, and learning new things sucks. I hate learning new things. It's usually boring, frustrating, demoralizing, and time-consuming. But the best things in life have to be practiced before they are enjoyable, because the best things in life have depth. Things like sex, football, and fucking Battlefield. If you only ever stick with the one game you're good at, sooner or later you'll get bored with it. And then you'll either move on and learn something new, or you'll stay bored for the rest of your life because you're afraid of leaving your comfort zone. And some people make that choice. But for the rest of us, gaming is a great way to practice your ability to learn new things, and a great example of how taking the time to learn new things opens up all new opportunities for fun. And so I want to go over how to learn a new game efficiently and effectively, so that picking up new games, especially complex ones like Battlefield, isn't as intimidating or frustrating as it has been for so many of us in the past. Now, the first thing you gotta do when learning something new is quit being a whiny little bitch, okay? After a certain age, we all have gotten good at something, and we've all been hot shit on one game or another, and it sucks having to go back to being a noob. But that's life. Stop being embarrassed about it. All the time when I'm playing with someone who's just starting out on Battlefield or some other complex title, I can sense their self-consciousness. They'd be like, oh god, I suck at this game. Sorry guys, why am I so terrible? And then the next day, they're like hesitant to get on, and eventually they give up because it's hard and it's wounding their ego. Newsflash, you're not supposed to be good at first. Call of Duty has tricked a generation of young people into thinking that's possible when it's not. You don't get on a bike and start bunny hopping day one. You gotta crash a few times first. Don't be fooled into believing the talent myth that skill is innate, that you either have it or you don't, and if you suck for your first few matches, you must be bad at this game. We're all bad at this game for our first few matches. I got 1,000 hours on Battlefield 4. You know what happened my first few matches on Battlefield 1? I got beat up. But that's what you gotta do. Let yourself get beat up for a little while, and just pay attention during your ass beating, okay? Just observe the game, notice what's killing you and how, and then after you've had your ass beat for a few matches, then you go watch some YouTube videos, okay? It's important to let yourself get beat up before you watch the YouTube videos, because you want to have reference points. You want to have some basic knowledge about the game, so that you actually understand what you're looking at and what's happening. Oh, that's how that works. Oh, you can counter that with that? Oh, you can fucking use that this way? Oh, that's a nice shortcut. It's like you're connecting the dots, right? You want to have some context for what you're looking at, but if you go into it without having gotten beaten up first and not understanding what anything is, you're not going to gain as much from watching the video. Watch the fuck out of them, see how the pros do it, and try to imitate that. I can't begin to tell you how many interesting things I've picked up from pornos over the years, and if they have some decent advice, pick up on that. One thing I learned recently from a pro that I didn't realize is that the LMGs in this game get more accurate the longer you hold down the trigger. I didn't know that. I was burst firing like a total noob, but now I know, and it has noticeably improved my gunplay with the support class. Deconstruct the game into its individual sub-skills. A game as complex as this requires you to get good at lots of different things. Prioritizing targets, cover clipping, map navigation, and map analysis. Every vehicle and every infantry class has its own set of abilities, counters, and strategic value. It's easy to feel overwhelmed. There's so much you don't understand. But just focus on learning one thing at a time. Each session, try something new. Today I'm going to practice reviving and healing people. Tomorrow I'm going to learn how to use the mortar. And the day after that I'll try to fly a fucking plane. Apply the Pareto principle when you can. You know, it's known as the 80-20 rule. 80% of your results come from 20% of your efforts. In a game like Battlefield, your aim is where that 80% of success is going to come from. Emphasize and focus on that shit first. Know when and where to use what kind of gun and which class or vehicle. Learn how to properly manage recoil with your favorite guns. And be patient, okay? You have to let your brain adapt to what you're doing. The brain is like your muscles. Muscles don't just fucking blow up after one day at the gym, even if it was a brutal workout, okay? You gotta keep at it, and over time they develop incrementally. And the same is true for your gaming skills. It's about neuroplasticity. You have to give the brain time to adapt so that the skills you're employing in-game become second nature, so that you never have to think about, oh, what button do I push right now? Oh, what should I do in this situation? You're just able to react almost without thinking. This is how I felt on Gears of War recently. You know, the third-person view and cover mechanics felt odd and clunky to me, and I was getting shit on, and there are those guys who just seemed so fluid, tapping A and dancing from cover to cover and running circles around you and shitting on you, and it doesn't even feel like you could possibly compete with that. You don't understand how they're doing it so quickly and easily, because at the time, their brains have adapted to the shit and yours hasn't. But if you give it some time, like I did on Gears, eventually it starts to come naturally and it stops feeling awkward and janky. You start to get the hang of it, and that's when it really starts to get fun. And push yourself, but not too far too fast. If you're joining conquest matches and you just feel helpless and you're constantly dying right off the spawn and you can't see anybody, you keep getting killed from random directions, and you aren't even sure what you're doing wrong, find somewhere else to practice, because there's a difference between getting an ass beating and an ass fisting. I remember learning the Little Bird on Battlefield 4. I could barely get the thing off the ground without crashing, and when I did get in the air, I didn't know how to aim and fly at the same time. And so I was getting absolutely demolished, and I wasn't actually learning that much because I would die before I had the opportunity to practice anything meaningful. So if you find yourself getting whooped on so hard that you don't even have a chance to practice anything new, then you've strayed a little too far from the comfort zone. What I did with the Little Bird was went back to the practice range. Now, in their infinite wisdom, they forgot to include the practice range this time, but what you should do if you find yourself in a similar situation, play some TDM or Domination. It's a much simpler, relaxed environment to learn how to properly gunfight. Play some campaign to become more acquainted with the many different mechanics in this game. Play some custom games and just practice the very basics of whatever vehicle you're trying to learn or what have you. It takes time, and it's not always super and constantly fun and exciting. Sometimes it is a little dull and a little frustrating to learn something. But the return on investment is always so high, you know? I spent a few hours learning the Little Bird, and I ended up having hundreds and hundreds of hours flying around in that thing, getting tens of thousands of kills. It was the Little Bird by itself was like a whole game by itself, and I didn't even have to spend any more money on it. I just had to put in a few hours to learn it. Always remember that just because something is hard doesn't mean it isn't worth doing. Quite the opposite, in fact. Alvin Toffler, the world-renowned futurologist and best-selling author, is perhaps best remembered for this quote: "The illiterate of the 21st century will not be those who cannot read and write, but those who cannot learn, unlearn, and relearn. With the rise of automation and information technology, we live in a world where entire industries can be wiped out in a decade by a smartphone app. A world where billion-dollar companies today couldn't have even existed 20 years ago. You have to wonder what skills are going to be relevant in another 20 years. The ability to learn new things and develop new skills is about more than opening up opportunities to experience all the wonders this world and gaming has to offer. It's about survival. So get your ass on Battlefield, stay thirsty, and keep fighting. The For the Win creator of the day is what is something you started out on as a total noob but ended up really enjoying. For me, it's football, where I got absolutely fucking wrecked my first year, but it ended up being one of the most entertaining, informative things I've ever done. Fair warning, you don't get to physically assault people after high school, so make the most of it while you can. This is Batman, signing out.